is a girl. She's a star. She's got style. Steffi Star. You see her face around the town. She's popular. Steffi Star.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Weinstein.
And I'm Meredith Keach.
I'm having a really bad hair day.
I don't know who I'm talking to or where.
Yeah, well, we don't know where we are. I can't stop staring at myself because I don't look good today. Hi, girls. Can you please introduce yourselves?
Yes, my name is Shari Flight. I'm one of the owners of Ember Holistic Care. It's a dementia consulting company.
And I'm Katie Fournier. I'm also one of the co-owners of Ember Holistic Care.
Well,
I just think it's a brilliant company.
We do too.
Yeah. Like, especially our age group, we see all our parents are downsizing, going into care. I mean, it's so much.
It is.
And so tell us a little bit about, obviously, so I told you I was looking at the website again this morning. And so tell us a little bit more about what you do and how it works to work with you.
Yeah. So to rewind a little bit, Katie and I met in a memory care assisted living. She was the head of nursing. They called the resident care director. I was doing programs, and we just constantly saw the caregiver burnout. Those kids that are taking care of kids at home, trying to take care of mom, dad, whoever. So,
yes.
But not getting that TLC. So it's almost like they would get the diagnosis for their loved one and be sent on the way to figure the rest out. So she and I were like, there needs to be more support for them outside of that. So kind of came up with the idea. We're literally commuting into work and we're like, there's something here. Let's do something with it. So
Absolutely.
Rolled with it. Start of COVID happened and been trying to grow it since then. So we're growing it still and it's been going really well. But we offer consulting services for the family caregiver.
Yep.
So if they're living at home, if the person's living in a community, wherever they call home, we will go there and assist the caregiver with it, whether it's education on dementia, education on how to respond to their loved one based on what's going on with them with their dementia, home safety, how to keep the house safe for them so they can stay home safely as long as possible, if that's the goal. And then we can assist with that transfer to a community, whatever that next step is.
And so how does the hire work? So my mom, let's say, was diagnosed. I don't know where to begin. I call you, the number on your website. Remind us what the website is.
emberholistic.com.
And I call you, and then what happens then?
So we start every conversation with a free 45-minute consultation. So it's just to kind of understand what's going on, where do you need help, where do you feel like you're good? And then after that phone call, she and I put our heads together to say, okay, we feel like this is the best next steps for them with us, and this is the next steps without us. So that way, if they choose to work with us or not, because we know we're not a one-size-fits-all for everybody, they still have direction either way, and then we're there if they need to fall back on us for anything.
So it's basically like a real estate agent for dementia.
Oh, I needed you girls. Are you just Massachusetts?
Yes. Right now, we have a goal to grow in future, but yes. But we can help people that are out of state to be more virtual, but we do have the ability to do that as well, whether it's phone calls, Zoom,
well, explain your situation stuff.
Oh, I'm exhausted from it. So my mother passed in 2020, and so that left father, and he lives in Florida. And then he started having some memory issues, and he's a very stubborn Greek man, and he is bossy, and he's in charge. So
he's just a man.
Yeah. So my sister and I started having friends come in, like a friend he didn't know. So we went to care.com and we went through a couple people. We found out early on that we couldn't have women because he thought he was dating them.
Oh, good for him.
He's like, I have to take them out for dinner. We're like, Dad, this is not a date. This is a friend just to like drive you around. So we ended up finding a man. A guy who came several times during the week, and he ended up taking him to beach, and he took him out for lunch, and he took him out for breakfast, but it wasn't enough. So we had to then get like an exercise person in, and he'd be exercising, and that wasn't enough. So then we had to bring a private cook in. So the private cook came twice a week, and that wasn't enough. Then we had to keep him constantly busy.
Yes.
And then it still wasn't enough because that loneliness factor kicks in. And so thank God we were somehow, my sister was unbelievable, and my nephew Andrew, we were able to transition him to assisted care. He basically went to a doctor appointment and never came back home. We're like, Dad, but he had brought it up like a month before, and he talked about his a new apartment and whatever. So we called it the club, and we said, we got you a place at the club. Now, the other thing is my father doesn't like to pay for anything. So we're like, Dad, this is free. The government is paying because you're in your 90s, and because you worked so hard and so long your whole life, you are now getting everything for free. So he walked in. It was beautiful. It took some time, for him to get used to it. And then 30 days later, the head nurse called me, who I do love, and she said, it's now time to talk about the memory care unit. I'm like, what? Already? But he went out the door, and I don't blame him because, so my sister and I went out the door and we couldn't get back in either. And you had to walk around the building.
Confusing.
But so he ended up transitioning to the memory care unit. They took him out for the day, and they took all his same furniture, of course, put it in. So he originally had a 1-bedroom, with a kitchenette, and then we moved him. Then it's just a studio apartment. Yeah. And so he's like, hey, who took my refrigerator? He didn't even notice there was no kitchen. And everybody there, of course, is a thief, as he says, a thief. And so it's been a ride. It has been a ride.
Well,
but
Will, you did all the right things.
I don't know how we did it.
I'm impressed because oftentimes that's what we will usually guide families to do.
Yes.
And what you did with taking from the doctor's appointment, that is like prime time to do something. Because you're not going home and then having to try and get them out of the house. Like that's a perfect transition. Anytime they go to the hospital or rehab, anything like that, that's perfect.
So we also hired a decorator. There was a decorator down there that decorates rooms for them. So the whole room was decorated in a Greek theme.
Love it.
Greek flags everywhere, Greek photos, and we bought him all new clothes. So all the clothes were hanging in the closet, underwear, socks, like everything. So he just walked in and it was ready to go.
Now, you had mentioned that he didn't have any resistance. Is that common? Where
Well, he wasn't quite sure how long he was staying there, and we just kept calling it the club because my parents lived at a club in Florida. So we just, it was kind of like a different club.
Yeah. No, I think your approach was perfect. Everyone's different with that. Some people, it's kicking and screaming because they recognize something's wrong. Some people, they have no idea that they've even moved. We usually advise to try and set the room up as similar as possible to home. Bring stuff from home, like if there's a favorite chair, if you have a side table next to your favorite chair with a junk drawer, bring it exactly as is, so it's easier to transition. And it just takes people time to adjust sometimes.
Can I just tell a funny story?
Yeah.
So, he kept forgetting my mother died. So, he would say, where's mommy? And I was like, I don't know what you're supposed to say. So I stopped saying that she passed away because he'd be like, oh my God, what? And so I'm like, oh, Dad, I don't know. She's out doing errands or whatever. He goes, well, where is she sleeping? I go, Dad, I don't know. He goes, what a swinger.
He sounds like a hoot.
He is a hoot. Oh, they love him there.
I love that you used a temporary truth twist. That's what we call it.
What is it? A temporary truth twist?
Oh, I do that every day.
So that is really good for someone where he's at with his dementia. It really calms his anxiety instead of reliving those moments over and over again, escalating some of those behaviors or confusion around that. It's hard for them because they don't remember. And in his mind, he might be younger and thinking that she is really out just running some errands, and that works.
Yeah, I think he really thinks she. So you're not supposed to say she's dead.
No, because they have. So we all have emotional memories. Like if you hear a certain song that you heard at someone's funeral service, it's going to bring you back to that funeral service. So emotional memory. If you tell him that she passed, a few minutes later, he may forget that she passed, but he's still holding on to the emotion of sadness, and that can carry through the rest of the day.
Oh, that's horrible. You could have to re-grieve.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
So all right. Well, now we know.
What a nightmare.
Yeah. There's some families who, they want so badly for their loved one to remember, so they'll just remind them constantly of these horrible things that have happened. And it's really hard to get families to understand it's actually a benefit to not tell them the full truth of what's happening.
Can I insert there, too? So I lost my brother. He was 21. It was a tragic loss. We grieved for so long, and I say grieved because I'm no longer grieving his death. And there was a year where I didn't remember. it wasn't every moment, every day leading up to that anniversary of coming, and then just like, all that goes along with it.
Yeah.
So I can so appreciate if I were old and we're having the mental process. I celebrated that moment where I was like, oh my God, I didn't dread the date coming and I didn't even know it was here and it's already past me. And what a monumental event to not have that anymore. His birthday's coming up, the this, the that.
Absolutely.
It was in my past. So what a horrible, it would be horrible.
No, absolutely. We love the clients that are willing to give us all of the tea, as we like to say, give us all their history, the good, the bad, the ugly, the celebrations, the achievements. We want it all. So we know how to respond appropriately if that comes up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you can give us all the names of family members. Let us know the family members. Like, do not talk about this family member. Events that maybe happened that could be traumatic. Like, we want to know all that. Because oftentimes they forget the present day, revert back to the past. So if they had something, like, let's say as you get older, if you had dementia, forgot that he passed, we don't want to talk about that. Right. That's a traumatic thing for you. So that could bring up, like, if you saw something on the news of a 21-year-old that passed away, that could trigger something for you. So it's important for us to know, even if it's something embarrassing family history, you want us to know what's going on because we can help with that.
God.
Yeah.
So if in this instance, if I hired you and I say, I don't know anything about medicine, which I don't. I know nothing about your world. So I need the full Monty. I need to hire you to just be with me through the process. Take us through that. How does that work?
Yeah. So it starts with a consultation where we're talking over the phone. Like Shari had mentioned, that first 45-minute free consultation, we're trying to figure out what are some of the needs. What are your goals for your loved one that's suffering? What are your goals for yourself? Getting yourself back to where you were before you were that full-time caregiver in some instances. It then looks like and starts to unfold where I would go out as the nurse, do an assessment, from notes, from bolts to nuts, everything from the psychosocial history to the health history. Where are we at? I might look around their home and, do a quick safety assessment to assess, is there fall risk here? What are they using for an ambulation device, if any? Do we have to look at getting some interventions in place, like an alarm on the door if there's someone that's trying to leave in the middle of the night, and now we have to explore an assisted living facility. So a lot that goes into it initially. And then working, we have several different packages. Shari, I'll let you share about some of our
so
packages.
we'll work like with the medication side of things too. We'll try and see like what's going on, what's working, what's not working. Are you not sleeping a lot? Try and figure out and get to know the person. And then that's where Katie as the nurse can say, okay, maybe we should talk to the doctor and she can assist with those conversations, call herself or tell you what to do before you go. But see, like maybe suggest this to assist with sleep because that's good for this type of dementia. So she can really assist with a lot of that. And then for anyone that's interested in it, she does have a certification for CBD and THC, which we've seen so many benefits for that for dementia symptoms. Yes.
Interesting.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So it's the cannabis health coach. It's I landed on it through a friend and colleague of mine. And she had done it. And it's actually a woman out in California that does it. They're way ahead of the game with this stuff. And they're doing a lot with dementia out there with it. But what it really entails is I can just coach people through, like educate them the benefits of it, what they could do for dosing. Again, working with the physician as well, just to make sure we get it right. We definitely respect medications that they're on presently and don't want to certainly impede upon that process. But if we can add a little bit to it and eventually kind of taper off some of those medications, we'd love to, right? And as someone progresses, things change. They don't need the same doses anymore. They might need and want something more natural to help with some of these anxious, agitated behaviors.
Yeah.
So it eases the anxiousness.
Yes.
Different. Our favorite story for like the first time we ever really saw it was a community we worked in. There was a woman that we always called, she was like a ping pong ball. She could not sit still. She was all over the place. She wasn't eating. She was losing weight. She couldn't sit in programs and engage. Family would visit and she would just be up walking around. And her son had a medical marijuana card, so he had both CBD and THC. So we were able to let him fill up a medication planner and with the CBD first. It worked. Not as well as we like, but it worked. And then he tried the THC. She was sitting for meals. She was sitting in programs. She was eating more. She was more calm. She wasn't moving around or as anxious. So
she was talking.
she was talking more. So it really,
That's
it
amazing.
prolonged her life a little bit with that and gave her quality of life.
What was the? How did she take it? What, like in
was
a
a
pill
gummy,
form
right?
and a gummy?
It looked like a gummy bear.
Oh,
So that's the
okay.
other thing too.
Perfect.
A lot of,
Right.
especially I feel like that generation, a lot of them don't like medicine or don't veer away from any type of pill.
Right.
I don't know what this is, or some of them don't understand what it is. So if you, and some of them will actually start to chew the medicine because they don't understand how to swallow anymore.
That's right.
So if you give them a gummy or a lollipop, whatever it is that you can get it in, whatever form, Katie usually sends you all the info. But that's pop a gummy. That's easy. It's a snack.
Wow.
It's very fascinating.
It's cool.
I need to get father some gummies.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
There you go.
I mean, he's really good. He participates in all the activities.
Mhm.
So he's great, but there's, some people there was a
Tough.
young man in his 50s. I feel horrible. And
Yes.
I was like,
50.
You're
he's in
seeing
his
it more.
50s. And I'm like, hey. And he used to be like, hi, how are you? But the last time I went, he's like, you asshole.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was another woman. She had just turned 70. She was in there. She's like, I don't know what I'm doing in here.
Mhm.
So I said, oh, well, I got to go. She said, well, where are you going?
Mhm.
And I didn't know what to say. And she's like, hello? I'm like, I'm scared.
No hablo inglés.
I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it's so hard because in the memory care unit, a lot of the people are sleeping.
Yeah.
They're sleeping during the activities. They don't like the elderly they don't like them to stay in their room all day.
Oh.
They want to bring them out to the activities, but I feel like my father's in between assisted living and memory
Yeah.
care because he is, he can exercise, he understands directions, he
Yeah.
wants to participate, and he's like, everyone else is half dead.
Yeah.
So he has to, because he's in the memory care, he can only hang out with the people who have memory issues.
He has to stay in the memory care
Unless
unless
he's escorted.
he's escorted, so that we would have to hire somebody.
Yeah.
So on top of the expense of basically, let's say $8,000 a month because it's a little cheaper in Florida, and he's like
Much cheaper than
he's
the
at a
rest.
top facility. You walk in, it
Wow.
looks like it's Vogue.
How much is it
8,000.
here, Sherry?
Woo.
Over 10?
Anywhere between 10 and 15.
Yeah.
A month.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ship
And
your parents to
every-
Florida.
Every company is so different. Some companies it's all inclusive, so you're not going to have like other things added on. Some companies it's a la carte. So if you start to become more incontinent or need more assistance with care or meds, they tack on at the end of the month, and they have the conversation with you prior,
Yeah.
so you know.
Right.
Some companies it's like a tiered program. So if you're in one program, but then you start to consistently need increased care, then you go into that next tiered program. So it's more money. So it's that's the hard part too. So that's where we like to really be involved in the touring process, so they understand like maybe it's $8,000 to start, but as he progresses and he needs like a Hoyer lift or 2-person assist or
Yes.
increase in continence care, what's that going to cost you? Is that included or is that more money? So some companies will sell you on that low price and you don't fully aware because you're just going in there and you're taking all the information in. Maybe you miss some stuff that they say, and then you're surprised when they're having the
Yeah,
conversation.
Massachusetts is definitely more expensive
Oh,
because we have already
definitely.
had stuff tacked on. Plus, we
Yeah.
get private care over the weekend.
Mhm.
Okay.
Just because they're a little shorter staffed, I think. They
Yes.
never said that, but I think they are.
Yeah.
So we have some aides
That's
that
common.
stay with him Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Now, in Massachusetts, let's say you you go into a facility and you run out of money. What happens then?
So they will. So they're wonderful at the ones we've worked at,
Mhm.
where they will kind of be ahead of that. They'll be having those conversations with the family, like, what are your finances looking like?
Mhm.
Do we need to start a process of, looking for a long-term care facility or what we call a nursing home?
So the
Um,
state doesn't kick in anytime.
No, there's some communities that have something called the PACE program
Yes.
where they do have PACE beds. So if there's a room that is opened up that is a designated PACE room, then PACE will kick in and it assists with stuff like that. But you also take on all their medical professionals too. So PACE pays, I don't want to speak out of term, but they pay like a portion of the rent for you and then you're just
Yes.
responsible for the remainder. Some companies too, they're not going to just say, oh, out of money, see you later. So they'll say, what can we do? Can we downsize you to a different room? Can you afford this room? Can we move you to a companion suite versus the suite you're in now? It's this much money. So they'll do their best to try and work with families. And if none of that works because they truly have no more money left, then they will assist them with the process of trying to find that next spot, which is tough because some people don't need it, but they don't have the money in the bank for it.
And that's what's heartbreaking
Yeah.
because they could benefit, like your dad, from all
Yeah.
the programs and the people and the dining and
Yeah.
things like that. So it is unfortunate.
Well, luckily, Father's all set till he's 113.
Good.
So he's all set, but that's a lot for
Yeah.
families to have to
180
go through
grand
that.
basically is what you could be looking at.
Mhm.
A year.
Yeah,
I don't want any of that. Can I? Like,
I'm gonna be in a box.
I wish in life. Yeah, I
I'm
really
gonna
do.
afford anything.
You don't want to
Like
do
when you're-
assisted living?
No, when you're telling me all this
What
stuff,
about-
I don't want any of it. I don't want to do that.
There's so many benefits to it, and there's some buildings that are so beautiful, and the staff is amazing, but it's costly.
Loneliness is the number one killer.
I just want to die before that.
Stop saying that.
I don't want that. I don't like incontinent. No,
Well, nobody's saying that.
I don't want any
the
of it.
assisted just because you're in assisted living doesn't mean you're incontinent.
That's a part of the dementia journey. So a lot of people, as they progress,
I don't want dementia.
Well, I don't think any of us
I'd
do,
like
Meredith.
to take door number 3, which
Right.
gets me out earlier.
And sit on a beach with your gummies.
Right?
Yes, I don't even have
say.
to be on the beach. I'll take the early out. I don't want that.
I don't think I'm going to get it. My mother was hip happening.
I don't need to.
And
live
my
that
father,
long.
he's not my blood father. So we don't know.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I don't think I'm going to get it.
I'm curious with him. Did you notice a cognitive decline after she passed?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was starting to happen a
Is that
little
normal?
bit. She'd be like,
Yeah.
Paul, you left the water on.
Yeah.
And he would be like, where's your mother? He would call.
Mhm.
I'm like, Mother, could you please just leave a note on the counter of where
Mhm.
you are? No,
She would
I'm
just
not
leave.
doing that. Yeah.
They were married for a long time.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, they were the Costanzas. But okay, wow. This is, you girls are,
So, are you both working in a facility now?
I'm not. So I'm a visiting nurse, and then I work on Ember.
Wow.
So between the two, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, so we both have full-time jobs
Yes.
while we're still growing the business on the
Yes.
side. It works well because she's already traveling for her job, so
Yeah.
she
Right.
goes to see the clients.
Yeah.
And then I'm traveling, but not quite like she is. So I have more time to do like the behind-the-scenes stuff and hop on the
Yes.
phone calls with the families. That
there
we
is
have.
such a need for you.
Yeah.
Now, I have a lot of friends too, and my sister was talking about years ago. She's like, we just need a senior sidekick for dad. He needs a senior sidekick.
Yeah.
And that's what
Well,
a lot
Mark
of
was great.
Mark was great, but there's a lot of people that just need a babysitter.
Mhm.
Now, my daughter-in-law works at a facility in Natick. You drop your parents off at 8, you pick them up at 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The day program.
It's Elderwell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are great.
How expensive is that? A daycare.
I think it depends on town. A lot of council on agings have it.
That-
Some of them have dementia-specific ones.
Yes.
So their staff is all trained in it, and they know
nice.
who needs to be present with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Every town's so different, though, with
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
For
okay.
that specific program, it's costly, I think, probably, if I had to guess.
I think that there are some that are more cost private pay, and then there's others that are like low income and cater to that low income demographic. So
$100 a day, $1,000 a day.
I'm
like,
not sure, truthfully.
I don't know the exact figures. I
Yeah.
don't want to.
I know. I wonder how much it is. But it's like, we have friends around town and we always see Facebook posts. Does anybody know anybody that
Yeah.
can sit and play cards with my parents?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, what
I
are we
know.
going to do?
I know.
well, so I work with Linden Ponds. They're one of my referral partners, so you're probably familiar with. And so I work with a lot of folks who I just call them my downsizers
Yeah.
because we work with a lot of folks who are downsizing, could be, 50, doesn't matter. But what I've learned through the process is there is an age where it's too old to move, to do like a major move from like your single family home that you've been living in to then going to it not being damaging, right? Like you said, after Stephanie's mom passed, the signs of dementia increase.
Right.
That seems to be pretty consistent with what I've seen. The stress of a move, the physical, the emotion of it, mostly the emotion of packing and purging, going through every memory, even if they're in a home that was like, they're in the one floor living, right? And so the most recent observation that I've had that some clients pointed out, when they moved into their house that was a ranch, it was one level living, it was totally appropriate, perfect for them to age in place. They said, we were so social. It was a couple living there. We were so social when we first moved here. We had parties, we had friends, we did events, we went here and there. And then little by little, we stopped socializing, partly because our friends were dying, or they weren't driving anymore. And that was an aha moment for me to try to tell, because we work with tons of our friends' parents, right? That's sort of a large portion of the population that we work with.
Right.
But to tell people, and I want to shout from the rooftops, that this is what's next. Even with my mom, who's very able, she just went on a trip to Germany. Like she's perfectly fine and able. She's 78, she lives by herself. Everything's good. She's no cognitive, physical, God willing, that she's healthy. But to say, your sphere is what's going to, I'm worried for you because you're here alone. Well, I have neighbors. Well, it's not your neighbor's responsibility, number one, to take care of you or to check in on you or to come play cards with you. But your sphere is going to slowly dwindle. And that's the point that I get concerned about, because then you're old and you're in a house that's too big for you. When we see what people downsize to at Linden Ponds, I mean, it's like
600 square feet.
Yes, it's a bedroom, a bathroom, and a mini kitchen and a living room. And that's it. Now, granted, it's because you want to be out in there, right? You want to be going to the dining, you want to be going to the gym, you want to be going to the library, wherever it may be, sharing that community space. So that's why it's so small. But when you look at what someone truly needs in terms of space as we get older, and then pulling out, because the boomer generation is the largest population living right now. They're the oldest generation of any in history that's ever lived. They're the wealthiest for a whole host of reasons, and they're fiercely independent. So you can't tell a healthy 78-year-old, age is coming. They'll tell you to go pound sand, right? I mean, so this is like, from our vantage point, and what you guys are doing is absolutely incredible, number one. But also it does create a sense of anxiety for those of us who have parents that are living, because you know it's coming in one form or another. But how do you prepare for it?
Yeah. So every town has the Senior Center, Council on Aging. They're a wealth of knowledge. I feel like a lot of people don't realize how much they can actually do to help you, but they have all the resources. So if you were ever curious of like, what's the local stuff? Do you know any home care companies that Medicare covers? Like if you had any questions like that, they're your people. You go to them. They have so much. Most towns do much more than just help the elderly population. Like they'll assist with other stuff too if need be. But they're a really good resource for anyone that's either of your age with parents that are older or the older adult themselves.
Interesting.
But even just for stuff like engagement, like if you're like, and again to your point, a lot like I know my dad at this point, he's 65, would not be caught dead going to a Council on Aging, even though he's of age to be able to go to one. Right. But if they get to the point where like you're concerned, like, you know what, Mom, you got to start doing a little bit more. There's some great programs going on at the Council on Aging. Let's go check it out together. Right. Because they do have fun stuff. They do outings to lunch. They'll pick you up.
Now, well, your mother's a joiner. Now, my father, we tried to get him to go. He would not. He would not. He's not a joiner. Now he is. Now that he doesn't know what the hell's going on. But before, he wouldn't join anything. Well, so we couldn't get him to go anywhere.
I think too, for him, it's right there. He doesn't have to leave to go anywhere. So it's right there. It's easier for him to join. So that's why engagement in communities is so important, because
that's
it's
why
right there for them.
You need to go to assisted living, Meredith.
I would love assisted living, frankly, at this point. Or Linden Ponds, anyway, would be fabulous for me. The rest of it, no thanks.
Beautiful. That property is beautiful.
It really is.
I love that they have the independent, the assisted, and then they even have the skilled right there.
Brilliant.
It's a beautiful
and that
transition.
seems to be, the more of these are being built, you know, which is really fantastic. I mean, there's a waiting list to get into Linden Ponds. You could be waiting a year or two.
Right.
Which is mind-boggling.
I know.
You have to wait for someone to die.
Well, I remember when I started in real estate, over 55s, like Knowlesbrook was originally an over 55, and they decommissioned it. I don't know if that's the right word, but they took away the age-restricted status, because there was a time when you could, and if it's age-restricted, you can't move in unless you're 55, and there was a massive amount on the market. We went through that probably 20 years ago, where, you know, there wasn't the population. It was like a ranch. You couldn't sell a ranch at the time. Now, you know, you even whisper that you have one coming on the market, and there's 10 people lined up for it. So it'll be interesting when the boomer population passes on, you know, and then what happens with these facilities. I guess they just repurpose them over time.
And, you know, the other important thing, too, is to talk to your parents about their finances. Because my mother's like, we're fine. Everything is all set.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And my sister tried to talk to my mom and say, you really should put me on the checkbook
Mhm.
because God forbid, you're not going on my checkbook.
Yeah.
And so she, of course, talked to the girls at the pool and nobody was on the checkbook. No kids were on the checkbook with their parents.
That generation.
Well, sure enough, mother passes and what a shit show.
Mhm.
What a shit show.
Yep.
It was, it took a year to settle everything, to go through, even to close a Macy's account. Nobody would talk to her.
Yep.
The cell phone, everything. She found so much fraud on my parents' credit cards.
Mhm.
Like she was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But nothing was my father did have a trust and there were some stuff set up,
Right.
but it's still because neither one of us was on anything, we couldn't talk to anybody or do anything.
So we try to have those conversations
Yes.
with families. Like if you're able to talk to your parents still, if they're at the point where they still understand conversation, do they have a healthcare proxy? Do you know who's on it? Do they have a power of attorney? Do you know who's on it? Do they have the DNR, which is called the most form? Do you know their wishes? You want to have those conversations so that either when they can't speak for themselves or they've passed, you're not wondering, well, what do they want? Who's in charge? Like
right.
they're hard and awkward conversations to have. Oftentimes in that generation, they don't want to talk about it, but it's necessary things to talk about.
Well, meanwhile, my sister made me, my mother made me healthcare proxy.
Okay.
She said, you're going to be healthcare proxy because your sister will pull the plug.
Sounds like
So,
my mother.
right. And so my sister was, the other one was the,
Power of attorney.
power of attorney. But anyway, when it came down to it, I couldn't even deal with anything.
Mhm.
I blacked out like when
Mhm.
my mother got ill and I shut down. So I couldn't do one thing.
Mhm.
So thank God my sister, seriously.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
have multiple people on it too.
Yes.
You could have a primary and a secondary, so you're the one that's the head of it. But you can say, "Speak to my sister; she's also on it,"
People,
and they would just send her.
you
way.
need to do that. Who
Yes.
is ever
Yes.
listening?
Yep.
There needs to be a 1 and a 2 because
There
I
is.
couldn't do anything.
Yep, you have to do it and have the conversation.
Right.
So my parents, I'm so blessed that they always talk to us about that, so I know where everything is.
Yes.
They literally will go on vacation. My dad will come and be like, "All right, Shari, just a reminder, in the cabinet downstairs, it's the blue folder. If we don't make it for whatever reason, this is where everything is. Just call the lawyer." I'm like, "Okay, good."
Well, supposedly everything was in the lockbox at the bank,
Yep.
and there was nothing in there.
Gotta love it.
Just
I
all,
love
just
it.
all part of it. Yeah, just all part of
She's
it.
gone. She's like, "Just want to keep you guessing, honey."
Right.
I was just gonna say.
Right, exactly.
Another riddle.
Yeah.
Well, I had clients who father passed with nothing, and
Yeah.
the house was left behind, and they almost lost the house to the state.
Yep.
So
I've seen that too.
for those that are listening, it's a cautionary tale
Yeah.
where it can
Well,
happen.
especially with the finances, if you don't have anyone listed,
Yeah.
it is a nightmare for the family to have to go to court.
And spend money.
Yeah.
Spend
And
money, go
also
to court.
spend money on the house to maintain it,
Yeah.
keep the
Yes.
taxes paid,
Mhm.
things going in the house. So they're spending money, keeping it afloat
Yeah.
just to try to wrangle it out of
Yeah.
the state's hands. Who
Absolutely.
wants to take it?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's if you are planning and you have told your family everything, they will thank you in the future when you're gone because
Yeah.
now it's less of a headache. They can
Yeah.
grieve properly. You've already planned everything. Like
Yeah.
even the funeral,
Right.
like make sure you know where you want to go and then it's paid for. You can pay in
Right.
advance for whatever funeral home
Yeah.
you want,
It's a good
whether
way
it's
to spend
cremation
down.
or anything.
That's
yeah,
what
to
the
spend
death
down the
doula,
money.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
She is.
Father prepaid for his cremation on his credit card so we
Yep.
could get the points.
You know what? I appreciate it.
I want to meet this guy.
You can take a trip on his points. Love it.
I love it.
Oh, yeah, so great, so great. But yeah, the more prepared you are, the easier it is on your family
For
members.
everyone.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And having those conversations early, like
Yep.
Shari and I said, we've had these conversations multiple times with our parents over and over again.
Do they listen to you?
My parents do.
Mine are now too.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a nudge, but we're there.
Yeah.
Because I've shared some of the horror stories
Right.
like you
Yeah.
have. you know,
Right.
the battle
Mhm.
stories of
Yeah.
this is what can happen.
Yep.
It's
Right.
awful. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, I think it's trust issues too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
mean, that's
I think the
understandable.
hardest conversation of all of those documents is that DNR form because that's literally talking about do you
Yes.
want to be resuscitated? Do you
Right.
want to be intubated? Like it's all the really hard conversations. But if you can have that conversation, and I know that my mom wants nothing, you're not gonna feel like a jerk if you're telling the doctor like,
Right.
nope, she doesn't want it. Let her
Right.
go. Like
Right.
because she told you
Right.
in her right state of mind, I do not want that.
Right.
And you can change it. Everyone thinks that you can't change it. So if I did resuscitate me today, but then I progress, you can change that to do not resuscitate or vice versa. So you just need the doctor to sign off on it when you change it, but you can change it as many times as you need to. So it's not like it's etched in stone and can never be changed again.
Well, what about you three? Do you guys all have the DNR and healthcare proxy and power of attorney?
I don't have the DNR form yet. I do have everything else.
Oh, nice.
I have the healthcare proxy. I don't have a DNR.
Will?
So, I'm working on that now.
I do have a will.
I have a will, but that's it. You?
I have none of it.
Oh.
Some wills do have it. I believe so. Have it inside of there, your healthcare proxy.
Yes.
It has it all kind of.
Oh, actually,
so-
I think you're not, they said you're really not supposed to make the healthcare proxy your kids because you can't think straight. And I know everyone's kids are.
Yeah.
And I think I made Alexa mine.
Yeah.
But they say, they say maybe it's a good idea to get somebody else.
We'll even have the conversation with them too.
Right.
Like for everyone that my husband and I chose, we were like, we're going to be doing this. We'd like for you to be it. Are you comfortable with being it in the event that XYZ happens?
Yeah.
So
Right.
let them know too. Like, don't just be like, yeah, it's going to be Katie.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. No, we have the will. I just kept having kids. So, but the will is really tough when you have young children.
Yes.
Yes.
'Cause
It's-
that's forever changing.
Oh,
Yeah.
and it's also, you got to pick someone to take care of your kids,
Mhm.
which is like, because
And you have a
there's-
lot.
Yeah, I mean, we have three, so that responsibility,
Yes.
or and it can't be my parents, right? It can't be my mom,
Right.
and so for us, we've delayed on it because the person or the people that we chose who accepted, to your point, we asked them, would this be okay? Our kids would have to move out of state.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And it's a heavy conversation,
It
right?
is.
My husband and I just talked about it recently, and he was like, what are you going to do? It's would be a catastrophic circumstance.
Yeah.
yes.
So regardless, but yeah, I reached out to the attorney too. And this conversation is good because it kind of puts it in front of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Years ago, when my girlfriend was going through this, it was before I had children. I thought, it's so stupid. Just get it done.
Yeah.
But it is. You don't want
It
to
is
think
heavy.
about
No,
it.
Right.
and we all think it's
Yes.
not going to
Right.
happen to us.
Yeah.
but
Right.
Yeah.
The one story that I heard too from an elder law attorney, she said she had a friend in college and something happened where they got in a fight and he was over 18. So technically, no one was allowed to call his mother from like the hospital or the police to let her know what happened
Oh.
because he didn't have a power of attorney or
That's
healthcare
terrible.
proxy or any documentation.
Mhm.
So another attorney I know, she said anyone in her life that turns 18, they get given those papers to fill out so that they have it. So like if you have a kid going off to college and they don't have those forms, you technically do not need to be called if something happens.
So for the kid.
For the kid.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Oh.
so the other,
Wow.
the other attorney I know, she said everyone's 18th birthday in my life, they get the healthcare proxy form so that we know all their information and what
Right.
they want.
So smart. That's so true.
smart.
Yeah.
You better
But
get
you
that for
wouldn't think
Alexa.
about it.
Right. What?
You better get that for Alexa.
I know. I was just thinking too, another piece of the financial, like before your parents get dementia, you really need to take care of this
Yeah.
because we had to go on a Zoom call with an attorney. And then my father, and he's like, woohoo! He was having fun. He goes, I'm naked! Woohoo! We're like, Dad, you're on.
This is a video.
Right. And then he was going, through the grandkids, do you want Andrew and Matt? Okay. They got to Alexa, will you leave whatever to Alexa? Oh, I don't know about her. We were dying. But this would be the phone calls,
Yeah.
trying to get him through the phone calls
Yep.
because that was his personality
Right.
was insane.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
please get your financial shit
Mhm.
together
Yeah.
before your parents get dementia.
Yeah. And they're know their sign-in information, their
Right.
whatever they
Yes.
need to know. Same
Yes.
thing. My dad has one sheet of paper in a certain spot of the house
Yep.
that has all of his login information for anything that we would need to know. I wish everyone was that
I was
organized.
going to say, I
Thankfully,
wish my parents were that
no,
organized.
he's very organized.
I know. And you know what?
Well, you know what? My dad did do that before they went on a cruise. He said in the firebox is just a little piece of paper and it has all these notes. And it was like, at a certain point, it was like, don't sell this building because of X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
Just like simple instructions that, oh my God, would be so helpful.
Yes.
My dad died suddenly and my mother, there's simple things that she was burdened with. Like, I know we're talking about the heavy stuff, but when you have a division of labor, she's like, I don't know how to pay the newspaper guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know what dad did, what he tipped him, and
Yep.
where to go. And I wouldn't either, because my husband has the stuff he does and I have the stuff I do.
Yep.
Just jotting that down and putting it somewhere so people can find it, or having a password, know your password in your phone. I mean, we do everything on our phones. If people
Right.
don't know what your password is, they can't even access
Yeah.
it.
No, it's true.
Correct.
Yeah,
Banking,
that's the other side of it.
everything.
It's not even when someone passes or progresses with dementia.
Yeah.
It's like, what are the roles of the
Yeah,
spouse,
right.
the two spouses? Because there's so many people, again, especially that generation where husband took care of all the bills.
Yes.
So the wife is usually left to like, I don't even know what we have for banks. Like,
Right.
I don't know what our accounts
Right.
are. And sometimes it's vice versa, but it's knowing where everything is or having them talk about it. So if mom is still okay when dad passes again or vice versa, that she now has somewhat of an understanding and you can assist if need be.
Right.
No.
Oh my God.
So
It's
that
a
goes
lot.
into
I
it.
feel like I have
lot.
so much work to do. I just feel like I'm so unorganized.
Me too. I'm going to 90 miles an hour at all times.
Right.
But you did your will.
I did my will, but there's life insurance policies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't get any ideas, kids.
There's a lot that goes into it. It's a lot.
It really
And
is.
even life insurance, quite honestly, like, isn't going to make you rich.
Mm-mm.
Right?
It's just
I
gonna
just got rid of
help
mine,
you.
actually.
I was
I
just
had
gonna say.
3 policies because I was talked into it. I just got rid of 2. Like,
good.
Yeah, no. You know what? They can make their own money.
Well, your kids are adults now.
They're adults,
Yeah.
exactly. They're not little kids. So
Yeah.
I just got rid of
Right.
them.
But I think to your point, like it's a lot of work. It's stressful to think about. It's you have to make the phone calls, you have to research. So that's why a lot
Right.
of people don't do it. 'Cause
You
You
of
know
the
what I
work
think
you
I'm
have to
going to
put
do
into
out
it.
of this conversation is
What?
just start a note, a little note that goes in the
Where will the
firebox
note be? Oh, in the
that
firebox.
says like, I have 2 health insurance policies. This is how you access my phone. This is
yeah.
just so you know, my credit cards are paid, this way.
Yeah.
And even if it's like it dates, they've got something to go through, right?
Exactly.
Something to
Yes.
start with to
Yeah.
know where to do what, when.
Right.
No, exactly.
Ugh,
Instead
this
of
is terrible.
guessing, you know what I mean?
Right.
We've had clients where like, what would they have thought of like, or what would they have wanted like 30
Yeah.
years ago? And we're like,
Right.
ooh, and then they're like, talking to some of the family members, like, what would mom have wanted like with her DNR, for example?
Right.
Like, at this point of the game, would she really want to be resuscitated?
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And kind of having to do that backtracking. So at least if there's something, like a little
Yeah.
roadmap.
So you
like,
don't have
yeah.
to try
Right.
to guess, you already
Exactly.
know.
Right,
Yeah.
because we just so father cremated mother and he had her in a shrine. He got lights, he had fake flowers, the whole thing. And so we finally just brought her back from Florida. Thank you to cousins David and Freya Maltz. They're like, do you need us to drive anything back from Florida? I
Mom?
said, yes, mother. I said, mother hated the Florida Postal Service. So we can't put her through. So they drove her home. And so now she's at my house. And then my sister and I are like, now what? But Alexa goes, Mom, Mimi always said she wanted to be at Shari Memorial Park.
There you go.
There you go.
So that's it. So we've been in talks now with Shari Memorial. So we're right now picking out the plaque. And we're like, oh, mother always liked a gardenia. So we're trying to figure out the wording and, do we do the eternal flame? So that's what we're working on now. And then, sister says we should have a rabbi for a private burial. And then the Jewish people have an unveiling. So a year later, we do the unveiling. So we'll have more people over. But, so Alexa was right. And after she said that, I said, you're right. Even I'm not a big cemetery person, so I never really go. And
Yeah.
I didn't really
Right.
think about it. But you really should make your wishes known. So luckily, mother said that to Alexa.
Well, I think that's great because otherwise, to your point, Katie, you're just guessing
Yeah.
what they would
What should we
want.
do with her?
Yeah.
Should we sprinkle her around
Yes.
TJ Maxx and Macy's?
Yes.
Because that's truly what she would love.
Yes.
But, we knew she, Alexa was right. She wanted to be a Shari Memorial. And we were lucky enough to get her a spot near her parents.
Oh,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're so lucky.
my
Like-
mother has it in writing that we're not allowed to pick up her ashes. We need to have a luau.
Oh, a
No
luau.
service, no nothing. She's like, I don't want anyone to be crying over me. She's like, I'm done with it.
Awesome. A luau.
A luau.
Yeah.
Luau.
In writing.
That is
Love it.
incredible.
I'd like to put this stuff in writing too.
Yeah.
I tell my husband if he
What do you
has
want?
I tell him if he has an open casket,
Well, I already know that. I'm going to close it.
I will haunt him for the rest of his days.
Mhm.
want
I
to
will
be
close it.
cremated. Nobody needs
Yeah.
to see my dead body.
I agree.
No, thank you. No how.
I think too,
I'm the
like
same
for
way.
me, like obviously with what we do, we've been to a lot of funerals for
Yeah.
residents, patients, everyone that's passed that we've helped throughout the years. Like I've seen the traditional services, I've seen celebrations of life. I would love a celebration of life.
I
instead.
think me too.
I don't want people coming
Yeah.
to like view my body
Yeah.
or
Right.
I
Well,
don't need it.
the Jews don't do that
Although,
anyway.
You know, I will say for people I know who have passed and not having anything, even if I'm not that close, there is something about doing something when someone dies.
Mhm.
Like
Something.
something that
Something.
provides
Closure.
Yeah.
It is important. It's like it. So I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. Just not
Mhm.
doing anything it just leaves it open ended
Yeah.
in some weird way.
Right.
There was
Right.
one service we went to for a resident, Martha, and it was the most beautiful thing. It was at her church. I think it was Baptist, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And it was the most beautiful celebration of life. It was people
Really?
coming up and telling stories. They had the executive director of our building go up and talk about
Oh.
her portion of life that he knew her for. It was just absolutely beautiful what they did for her.
It was beautiful.
And I don't think there was like a tear in the room. Like everyone was just happy,
They were
and it
Yeah.
was.
And they
Mhm.
were
She lived a
singing.
good life.
Right.
She did.
Yes.
So
It was
they do that at
beautiful.
Jewish funerals.
Yep.
So
Okay.
the rabbi will go up for a minute, but then it's really everyone else that comes up and tells
Ah.
stories
Yep.
Okay.
about the person.
Yep. It's usually the day after, right? You try to have that quicker.
Yeah, well, 48 hours, but
yeah.
we
Although
try.
Roy
But
has told me that can go awry.
right,
People
right.
have been.
Well,
They
right.
often numb their feelings with substance. And so Roy's a dear friend of ours who's very involved in his church. So
Okay.
he will have to go up and stand next to the person at the microphone and bring the big arm hook in order to get them off.
I haven't experienced that yet, but that is so great.
I have.
That is so great.
Yeah, there's so
But
many
it-
things you can do though. You can
I
put
know.
ashes in the bottom of a plant, and then when the tree sprouts, your ashes are
Yeah.
within the tree. Like there's
Oh.
so many things you can do.
Wow,
Mhm.
We learned a
interesting.
lot from
Mhm.
Amy Yannick with that. We
Yes.
took her course, and it was
Oh, you
eye-opening.
Yeah.
It was
Maybe we
cool.
should offer the course to the team.
You should.
You
It's
should.
amazing.
It was
Really?
great.
Yeah,
was
we did her
amazing.
very first one. She was trialing it so she could see like what works, what did it, and it was. I had just had my daughter. I think I was 6 months postpartum, and for me now having to
Oh my
factor
gosh.
her into some of the decisions because
Wow,
what she does
right.
is she gives you a death date. So the whole course is you planning everything out as you would. As
Oh,
if that was your death
Steph, can you
date.
do this,
It's
please?
amazing.
It was really cool.
I have
It
the
sounds like-
goosebumps.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. Like there's so
It was
many things
awesome.
that's why I got my healthcare proxy and everything finally put into place. I was like, this is like, we've been doing this for years. I've seen
Yeah.
a lot of people pass away, but this was like really personally eye-opening for things that I need to do
Yes.
for myself now that I have a
Wow.
child.
right, because you had to make it personal, right?
And it's not like you're not going to die.
Exactly.
We're all
Right.
doing it.
Exactly.
We all do it.
No one wants to talk about it.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And I think that's a cultural thing too, right? In our
agree.
society
Yeah.
where particularly with like pharmaceutical companies, beauty companies, whatever
Mhm.
it is avoiding
Yeah.
death
Yeah.
or
Right.
aging.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
The one
Instead of
around
embracing
aging.
it.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
saying it's okay, this is part of life. This is part of living.
Yeah, because that way
Absolutely.
you can depart this world, go wherever you believe in,
Yes.
and your wishes are made.
Yeah,
Right.
and your family and friends being okay with it.
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
There's untimely death and certainly, you grieving that process, but also knowing that even untimely death is timely because
Mhm.
we all die.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely,
It's
yeah.
part of it.
Yeah.
Stop being a downer.
Sorry,
Meredith.
I know.
Everybody dies.
Everybody does. Yeah.
Sheesh.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Now I want to take Amy's class.
You should.
We
I guess I
really
gotta
should.
do it.
I love her.
You should.
She's
I've known her
so
since I've been a little girl.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. We grew up in Sharon together.
Okay.
She's good people.
Yeah,
I
she
smoked
is.
my first cigarette with her.
Oh,
You did not.
In the woods.
Really?
And what about with your cheer captain? What is it called?
Oh, my pom pom captain.
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
she was just my captain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I still call her captain. If she calls me, I'm like, yes, captain.
That's awesome.
Oh my God, there's just
I'm
so
kind of
much to do.
speechless. I'm like, my brain is just
Me too.
whizzing.
I'm
There's
like-
so much. And it's, these are topics that, like, we're having a great conversation about it. And I'm going to leave today and not want to think about it.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
But you
Right.
got to let it sort of bubble to the surface, too, and
Right.
say, okay, I need to call an attorney.
Right.
Yeah.
And I need to get this finalized.
We should have Barry Crimmins on. He's an elder attorney.
Yes.
Elder care
I
attorney.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's helpful.
Yeah.
They are very helpful. Yeah.
I
If
mean,
you want to
Maybe.
lighten the mood, we can share some funny dementia stories.
Yes,
It doesn't
please
sound
do.
like
Do
dementia
it because I feel like
Yes.
I need a snack or something.
My two favorites both involve my husband. So he would always come anytime we'd have an event in the community that she and I worked in. He would always come. And there was one time where I was up front presenting, we called it a Lifetime Achievement Award for one of the residents. It was a weekend, so there was no other managers there. I think there was one other. And I got over the walkie-talkie that someone had fallen in the courtyard. So I go over, and she had dementia. And she was like perfectly pinned between the gazebo and the bush. She was just walking and fell, and her arm was pinned back.
Oh.
And I was like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "I'm good, I'm okay." And she was calm, she was fine. My husband walks up and he's like, "What happened?" And she goes, "That's the asshole that pushed me." I was like, "You should walk away. You should walk away."
So great. You never know what's going to come out of their mouths.
You and I always say we need to write a book because some of the things
do.
that these people say, it is absolutely, you have to laugh. My other favorite one that involved him, every year for Christmas, we would have a big holiday party and I would do some of the hair for the ladies, and I was doing this woman's hair. And she always just talked nonsense that's common with dementia, but you just go with it.
Right.
Same thing. My husband walked in and she looks and she goes, "You're cute. I got some hot tomatoes in my pocket. You want them?" And he's like, "Sure." Don't know what that means.
These ladies, they love the men.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah. When my father stepped foot into assisted living,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my
They
goodness.
would catcall him?
oh, he was hot.
Yeah.
They were whispering.
Yeah.
They were, 'cause
Yeah.
he had hair.
Yeah.
He had cute clothes.
No
Oh, he was like
way.
one of only 5 men.
Yes.
Yes.
Because it was newly opened.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, it was very cliquey there.
It can
Unfortunately,
be.
it does not end.
It
up
gets
as gold.
cliquey in assisted living.
Yes.
So my sister and I were talking to this woman, and these other 2 ladies are like, "Don't talk to her."
Oh, yeah. The
Mhm.
Mean Girls.
Yeah.
They're
There was
assisted
Mean
living.
Girls
Yeah.
at assisted living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you believe this?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like a college dorm room
Yeah,
in some
it can
instances,
happen.
too.
It can happen,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
I had another building where none of the staff knew about it. They overheard residents talking. This was on the traditional side, so not secured, okay to come and go as they please. They had their own underground bingo,
Yeah.
and it was invite only.
No way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, "You guys are
Yeah.
balling. I like it."
Yeah.
They
Where would they
smoked
play
cigarettes
bingo?
and drank whiskey.
Yeah, seriously,
Yes, that's what I
probably.
mean. It's
In
like
someone's room?
they party.
No, there was a basement there that they had access to. There was like 2 apartments down there, I think, and then there was a common room down there.
Oh.
And they would just go down and play there, but not tell anyone. They wouldn't tell anyone where they were going, what they were doing.
Oh, because
would
they
just-
probably didn't want certain people to come in.
I think
too.
so.
Exactly.
What about alcohol when you're getting older?
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we see in the assisted livings, they have a happy hour.
Yeah, they
Like
always
I
have
said,
happy
yeah.
hours.
Oh, yeah.
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 For some people, pending medication, if you're in
Yeah.
a building, you need usually a doctor's note saying you're good, but
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
fine. We're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of buildings will do that. Some will make mocktails.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can get like the alcohol-free wines and stuff. So if it's someone who doesn't realize they can't drink, you
Yeah.
just give them that, and they
Oh,
usually
they
don't
don't
notice the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We
That's,
had,
yeah, it's allowed.
we had a client that loved her wine and it was time
Mhm.
to switch, but she knew and recognized those free bottles. So we
Mhm.
had the husband save a regular bottle
Oh.
and then
Pour
pour
it.
the free right in.
Oh.
Here you go, honey. You
Oh.
There's
Oh.
ways
it's-
around it.
yeah,
Perfect.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
You work around it.
Yep.
Yeah, she
Get
still
creative.
felt like she was having the event.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Well, I know when my grandfather drank old granddad a bourbon,
Yeah.
and I was having my parents and my grandfather over for dinner, so I went out and bought a bottle of the old granddad, and this is why I asked, because I was getting ready to pour it for him, and my father said, "You can't give that to him," and I was like, well, "I don't understand. This is what he drinks." But I had bought 100 proof, and I didn't know. He was like, "He'll fall down on his way out of here," because as you get older, I guess
Tolerance
changes.
your
It does.
tolerance
Yeah,
changes.
that's
which I didn't
where it
realize.
can be. If it's someone living at home, it can be tricky because they
right.
make or forget they've already had 1 or 2 glasses and
Right.
keep going.
Right.
Oh,
So that's what like
right.
we have had clients too, where it's like you got to make that switch because your loved one is getting pretty drunk in the middle of the night and they're
right.
falling and whatnot. So you have to kind of keep an eye on that too.
Right.
So what towns are you able to travel to or
So-
open to travel to?
We're primarily the South Shore. We have
Mhm.
clients in Boston. We've had clients north of Boston. We're willing to travel
Yeah.
in those vicinities to help people. We
Yeah.
want to spread the word.
Yeah.
We're willing to kind of go the extra mile.
Yes. Literally. and
So,
figuratively.
I was going to say literally. and figuratively.
The overall goal is to have, so she's an LPN. I
Mhm.
have my certified dementia practitioner, and I don't know if you've heard of Teepa Snow, but she's a dementia guru and she does training too. So I have
What's her name?
Teepa Snow.
Teepa? How do you
She's a-
spell Teepa?
Teepa. She's amazing. She's
Teepa
actually
Snow.
she has helped the Willis family when Bruce Willis got
Yes.
diagnosed too.
Okay.
She's really good, but she does a bunch of certifications. So I have a lot of background in dementia. So our goal is to have like a Shari and Katie on the North Shore, out in the West, so that we can
Oh,
eventually
right.
kind of expand that footprint a little bit too.
You like a
Yeah.
partnership?
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
do. We work well together because we
Mhm.
bring different facets
Yeah.
to it, like my nursing background, her psychosocial gerontology
I play a nurse on
background.
TV. She's taught me a lot.
Her, dementia background. I call her the little dementia guru. She is. If I have a question with a client, I'm like, Shari, what am I not thinking of
That's
here?
us.
Right.
Yeah. So, but
Oh, that reminds me, because when we moved my father into assisted living, he had his wallet and so we ended up down the road giving him a fake credit card.
Yep.
yes.
Right.
Yep.
And it's a lot.
Yeah. You
How'd
can
you do
even
a fake credit card?
It was one that was expired.
I was gonna say you could
Yeah.
just cancel it or cancel
Yeah.
the old one. They usually don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he was losing things
Yeah.
and we were searching, especially when he lived in the house.
Oh,
Oh,
right.
my God.
Yeah.
I
Andrew.
thought people stole it, right?
Everything was
Yeah.
stolen.
Because
he
There
was
was
hiding it.
thieves everywhere.
Yes.
And my nephew Andrew figured out that he would only hide things waist up, right? Because he really didn't want to bend.
Yeah.
So my nephew was able to find all the hiding spots. I mean, we would find envelopes with cash.
Mhm.
Like he hid I don't even know how he hid his wallet, under the couch, under the
Yeah.
cushions. Like
Yeah.
there was just so every week.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
Andrew, get over there. Papu lost his wallet again.
Yep. We always advise families when their
Yes.
loved ones start to hide things or lose things to look in the weirdest spots. I
Yes.
had a woman once, we could not find her dentures for weeks. It was in her
Oh my
slippers.
gosh. Yes, I remember
This is
that.
what goes on,
Yes, this is
okay?
what There's another
Yes,
woman
they hide
actually-
a lot of things in their shoes.
Yes. There was another woman. I was like, she lost her dentures again. I was like, I'm gonna check the toilet, and I put my hand in the toilet. Sure enough, it was in the toilet.
In the
Remember
toilet?
that?
In the tank?
Yeah, I had to put my hand through the little hole in the
Yep.
toilet.
Stop it.
I was like, you might want to buy new ones or really clean these, but they were in the toilet. But they put them in crazy spots, but then they forget because
Yeah.
in the moment it
Right.
makes sense.
Right.
They forget.
Right.
And then we had one woman who every time she would hide something, she would come down to my office and she's like, "It's a bunch of crooks here.
Yep.
They took all my stuff."
Well, this is what happens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my father
so
had
wrong
a
with it.
note on his sneaker box. If you touch these, I'll break your neck.
Yep. Yep.
It was for Mark.
Yeah.
They had a love-hate relationship. He had to take a week off because my father threatened to, he said he stole all of his tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Mark's like, I can't take it. He's like, there's one thing I
Yeah.
cannot be accused of stealing. My
Yes.
father was a cop. We're like, Mark, we love you and we
Yeah.
know it
Right.
wasn't you.
Yeah.
Take the week off with pay. Let us just deal with this.
Yeah.
And so I was on with my father, FaceTime. I'm like, Dad, will you open the trunk? Because he's in Florida and we're up here.
Yeah.
That's it's not easy.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you open your trunk? So he opens the trunk of his car. And I'm like, Dad, there are all your tools. He's like, that son of a bitch. He put them all back in my trunk. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had a
Yeah.
leaf blower in the air. I'm like, Dad, get
Is
the
that
leaf
a stage of dementia though, where you go through this, or
Not everyone does.
No.
It
No.
varies.
Yeah.
And it depends on the type of dementia too.
Mhm.
I wonder.
And
Or
their
what's causing
history.
it. Exactly.
Like it's common too for people who didn't grow up with money and it was hard to come by food or
Yeah.
supplies, especially people,
Depression.
anyone,
Yeah.
when we were
That
dealing with
makes
people
sense.
that went through the Great Depression, they would hide food, they would hide napkins because they were saving it for the family.
Right.
Not realizing that you don't need to do that. There's plenty. They didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
Yeah. That hoarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would say the
Hoarding.
purse of a woman with dementia is the most horrifying place that you can go.
The what?
The purse of a woman with
Oh.
dementia,
Oh my.
horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Crumbs,
Right.
dirty tissues,
Right.
A happy
Silverware.
muffin.
soiled underwear,
Yep.
silverware.
Oh, yeah. Silverware is a big one.
Yep.
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 stealing silverware?
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
ever know somebody who would take the knives?
Probably.
Maybe not.
Probably.
Somebody would taking.
That's common in communities.
Knives.
They'll hide them up their
Yes.
sleeves or in their socks.
Yep.
like
bring
to
it back
use on
to-
someone later, or
Just to bring back to the room because
Just
they
to
think they
bring-
need it.
yeah.
Right. They
Yeah.
think, just in case.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you typically, I also call that the dementia kleptos. You typically know
Right.
who your common people are that take things.
Oh, yeah.
So you just let them take it, and then you're like, all right, I gotta go down to Katie's room later. I'll get you your 10 coffee mugs that are missing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I was with my dad last week and we were sitting in one of the common areas and he's like, what's that? And it was a hair clipper.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, where did you get that? I'm like, well, it was just sitting on the table. He goes, I'll be taking that.
Oh.
And then, of course, he was wearing a pair of sunglasses that we didn't know whose they were.
Yep.
Yep.
Right.
They shop. They'll go to other people's rooms, shop
Yeah.
around.
Well, Charlie, the guy, everybody had to start locking their rooms
Yep.
because he was going into everyone's room, eating everyone's snacks.
That's gonna be me.
Papu was
Totally me.
living.
I know. Well, that's why we always advise too, especially in memory care, don't move them in with family heirlooms.
Yeah.
If you
Right.
can replace jewelry
Right.
with
Yes.
fake jewelry, whatever
Right.
you can do. do.
Yes.
Because
No
there is
cash.
people that wander.
Dementia.
So
Right.
whether it's your loved one or someone else, they wander, they can't help it.
Right.
Yep.
So
And most of the time the doors are unlocked
Exactly.
because the nurses are coming in and out and the aides are
That's
coming in and
right.
out to
Yeah.
check on you, especially at night.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I read a story about a couple. I'm sure you guys heard of this one. That the husband in whatever war he was in was a Morse code specialist,
Mm.
Okay.
and he and his wife were in this facility in the memory care, but he listened to the alarm and the beeps and the codes, so he sprung the two of them
Mm.
in memory care. They were in a
I've seen
lockdown
that.
unit,
Yep.
and he got them out.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've seen that too.
That's
amazing.
It's amazing what they remember.
You had
Yes.
a gentleman that used to turn his bed that was in the war.
Yes.
What would he do?
So he was in the war. He was part of D-Day, and
Oh.
he would turn his mattress on its side. One night I worked in 11 to 7. This was way back in the day when I was like a brand new nurse. And I would go into his room to do a check, and he's like, "Private, get your ass on the floor." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness." Ah. And I'm just like, and I'm this younger girl, and I'm like, brand new. And I'm like, "Oh my goodness. Yep, this is happening right now. We're at
Wow.
war right now."
He
and
was
we gotta
totally
deal-
reliving it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was this
They
another
do.
story I heard
Yeah.
of a gentleman. He, unbeknownst to them, was a boxer in the past, and every time he would hear the elevator ding, he would flip out because
Yeah.
he thought it was time to start, and
Ding,
he would
ding,
actually
ding.
start fighting people.
No, sir.
They didn't know
Yes.
why, and then the family's like, was there one day for him, like, it's the elevator. He used to be a boxer.
Oh.
So, like, that's why we were saying, like, it's so important for us to know every single
Everything.
detail about
Steph,
this person.
what's going to come up for you?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Luckily, time's out. Girls, this has been so much fun.
Wow.
There's so much information here.
There is.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Okay,
having
so
us.
give everyone your website, your socials. How do people follow you? How do they learn about you? And most importantly, how do they contact you?
Yep. So, website is emberholistic.com.
EMBER.
Yep. Holistic.com. Socials is the same, Ember Holistic Care. And then email. So we have one
Info.
generic email. It's info@emberholistic.com.
Okay. And are you on Instagram, Facebook?
Instagram,
Yes.
Facebook, LinkedIn, and I'm trying
TikTok.
out the TikTok world.
Okay.
She's killing it.
Yeah.
Actually,
She's
there's
absolutely
so
pro.
many good stories. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to follow you. I love
Please
tech.
do. Please
Yes.
Don't judge me.
No,
Still
she's
getting
awesome.
comfortable with it.
Do you
You're
tell
following.
stories about people, like
I
your
do
funny
have
stories?
a few. I had some that I was trying to keep it kosher here, so I didn't want to say them because they're a little vulgar.
Yeah, I know. I'm
But
sorry,
there's
I
some
dropped
on
an
there.
A-bomb.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
There's some on there, and then just like I don't know.
We love vulgar.
Try to find humor in some of it.
Right.
Well, you
That's
have
the
to.
goal. That's
Well,
the goal
you
gotta
have
of
keep
our
it
to.
TikTok.
light for
Right.
everybody,
Yes.
right?
Right.
This is part of life, and
Yeah.
that's you, Steph. You're able to keep
Right.
it light with your dad.
If I could only share the phone call I got at 7 a.m. from my father,
Bet.
it was a
bet.
doozy.
I bet.
Well, girls,
Thank you for coming.
thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
for
Thank you
having
for
us.
traveling
So
all
nice
this
to
way.
meet you.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
We're
having us.
grateful.
Yeah.
Have a good day. Thanks
too.
everyone
too.
for joining us.